Forgiveness. Forgiving cheating? Are you kidding me? Men like that don't belong.
Sir, that is not Yahweh's heart in marriage. When his wife Israel committed adultery, he told us that he was going to receive Israel back. He told us, and in fact, he actually sent the prophet Jeremiah to exhort us, or those of us in the dispersion that are still being unfaithful to him, to return to him, even despite worshiping pagan false gods. And even though Deuteronomy 24 clearly says that if we're given a certificate of divorce and then we go ahead and marry another and then try to return to our first husband, that we cannot. And clearly, this exhortation shows that Yahweh is faithful and he is merciful. And that's how we need to be with our spouses. His heart in marriage is demonstrated in how he deals with Israel and its adulteries. And I know that the epistle to the Hebrews is very popular in Christendom because it's used to say that the law, the Torah, the commandments are done away with, even though the prophets are constantly exhorting us to keep Yahweh's commandments, ordinances, and decrees and to return to them. And you can even look at the prophet Hosea or Hosea. He tells us that in some sort of messianic age, Yahweh is going to take us as a bride to him forever. And he's going to make a covenant with the animals. He's going to make a covenant with the weapons of war to not harm his people. My point is that Christianity commonly claims that the Torah was some old corrupt order that needed to be done away with. But we see in Hebrews chapter 8 and verses 7 through 8, for if that first covenant had been faultless, there would have been no occasion sought for a second. For finding fault with them, he says. Now notice it says, for finding fault with them. Yahweh found fault with the people, not fault with the covenant. In Psalm 19:7, David tells us that the law of Yahweh is perfect. Perfect. Nothing you can do to change it. These are the house norms that we're supposed to follow. So when a husband is pursuing a wife and she agrees to live with him and to abide with him, she needs to be following his rules. He's preparing a place, bringing her there, and then she's deciding to live under his covering and protection and provision forever. And so if we're not following Yahweh's house norms, he has to send us out to keep and preserve order in that house, just like an earthly husband. Yeshua said this to the Pharisees about divorce in Deuteronomy 24. Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, or in some translations it says sexual immorality, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. The reason Yeshua said that you shouldn't divorce a woman for any reason other than adultery is because in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 2, when it talks about a man finding uncleanness in his wife, the word is ervah, which means indecency. And this has to do with like a sexual indecency. So if you sense that there's some sort of promiscuity going on or something like that, then you need to take the lead in your household and take disciplinary action against that. But anything outside of that is not what Yahweh wills. Another point that Yeshua was making is that Israel's heart was so hardened that some husbands would just invent some indecency to put away their wives illegally. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 10, Paul exhorts believers who are married to seek reconciliation. That is biblical. That should be the first thing that happens. Forgiveness and mercy should be the number one priority. And Yahweh tries to do this all throughout the Tanakh. We read 1 Samuel chapter 7, and Yahweh is telling Israel, give up your pagan gods, give up your Ashtoreths, and I'm going to forgive you. And in fact, I'm going to give you the land that the Philistines still own, and I'm going to make sure that you conquer them. And there are plenty of other places in the Old Testament where Yahweh is practically begging his bride to return to him despite all her adulteries. This is what Yahweh wants ultimately. And in Matthew 5:32, Yeshua says that you're not supposed to put your wife away unjustly, because then you're going to move her to commit adultery. Yahweh had every right to deal with Israel the way that he dealt with Israel. And, husbands, I would understand why you would be angry if your woman cheated on you. I would be too. I would be. I'm not going to say that I wouldn't be, and I'm not going to say that it's an easy thing. The relationship changes forever, when stuff like that happens. But just like Yahweh, we have to impart mercy onto others, and we have to be loving and kind and gentle. And that's what his Torah is all about. His Torah is all about loving him with all your heart, soul, and mind, but also loving those around you.